In this video, I'm going to talk about how to draw cumulative frequency curves, and then in the following video, we'll talk about what kind of things you do with it. So this video is a short one. We're just going to look at how to draw something called a cumulative frequency curve. Okay, so first of all, cumulative frequency curves involves tables like this. So this is a grouped frequency table. So the reason why it's called a group frequency is because you have these groups here, like so. And in all honesty, it's really the table is exactly the same type of table you'd see in a histogram. So in this table, with these tables, there's kind of like several different things you can do, which we'll discuss, but you can draw a histogram, you can draw a cumulative frequency curve, you can do other things as well, but the same type of table, we're going to look at how to draw a cumulative frequency curve. So these are the groups. Now the first thing you do is you add an extra column, and we'll call that cumulative frequency. Oops. Cumulative frequency. Now, and sometimes I might just abbreviate it to that. So CF or C frequency. Now, first of all, you need to understand what cumulative means. Cumulative means it's a running total. So what we do is we kind of make a running total of the numbers here. So these are the groups. So cumulative means like kind of a running total. So let's just kind of write that here. Oops, getting used to this pen. So running total. So what you do is you kind of add the numbers as you go along, but the first number that you put in here is 2. So you copy the first number across because that's the frequency to start with, it's 2. And then the next group has 6 things, or let's say, for example, the data is heights. So it could be heights of people. So there's 2 people in this group. There's 6 people in the second group, but that means there's 8 so far now. Okay, so you kind of add the next number down, so there's 8. And the next group has 14, so that makes it 22 people now. And then the next group has 19 people, so that makes it 41 people so far. And then the next group has 8 people in it, so that's 49. And then the last group has got 1 person in, so that brings it to 50. So this is your cumulative frequencies. So just remember, the cumulative means it's kind of like a running total. So you start off with the first frequency and you just keep adding the next one down. And a good way to check that you've done it right is that this bottom number 50 should be the grand total of the frequencies. So if you add up all of these, that should come to 50, and that should be that number there, which it is. So that's kind of like what it means. That's a good way to kind of check to see if you've done it correctly, is by checking. Oops, sorry. By checking to see if the frequency adds up to that last kind of number here. So that 50 should be the grand total here. So that means we've got 50 people altogether. So this is your cumulative frequency values. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to draw a cumulative frequency curve, and we're just going to look at how to draw the curve. And then in the next video, we'll look at what we kind of do with the curve and what kind of analysis we can do with it, because it's important to be able to analyze the data itself. So here's our axis drawn. So the y-axis is going to be our cumulative frequency. And then the x-axis is going to be the data that we're actually measuring. So the data is heights in centimeters. It starts off at 155 and ends at 185. You don't need to worry about the inequalities less than and greater than or equal to. You don't really need to worry about them. But you just need to look at kind of the numbers. So it starts off at 155 and ends at 185. So what we'll do is let's say we'll have 0 in the corner here, and then we'll do a little squiggle, and we'll label this heights, measured in centimeters. So always label your axes, and we'll have the first one as 155, and then this one will be 160, 165, 170, 175, 180, 185. So this is, it's got to be continuous axis. You never ever draw inequalities on this. It's not, you don't do that ever. You just kind of write the numbers that appear here. So you kind of go from this number to the last number, whatever it is. But because like there's a big gap from 0 to 150, this kind of squiggle here, which you've probably seen before, means you're ignoring the numbers from 0 and you to 150. You're just going to start at 155 and then go up in 5s. Now your cumulative frequency value, if we look at the cumulative frequency values, we should really start at 0 and then go up to 50, because that's the highest cumulative frequency value. So here's 0. We'll go up in 10s, so we'll have this as 10, 20, 30, 40, and then this is 50. So that's the highest value. So we just go from 0 up to whatever the top frequency, cumulative frequency value is, and that's 50. Right, now we're actually going to plot the data now. Now this is the important bit, and you've got to remember this because it gets very confusing, and because this table, there's so many different things you can do with one table like this, but for cumulative frequencies we have to plot the cumulative frequency values. So we need to plot these numbers, but where you plot them is at the end value. Okay, so you always plot it at the end number, and in a minute I'll explain why that is. So you plot it at the end value. So 160 is the end of that group, and the cumulative frequency value is 2. So 160, sorry, what was that? What did I say? 160 is the end number. 2 is the cumulative frequency value. So we go to 160 and up to 2. I think that's right. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yep, so 2. And oops, and then the next one is 165, and the end number is 8. Oh, sorry. The end number is, sorry, the cumulative frequency value is 8, and it's 165. So 165, and this is 8. Then I keep going to the wrong slide, sorry. And then it's 170, and then 22. So 170 up to 22. So that's 20. 22 is there. Is that right? 20, 22. Yep. Then 175, 41. 175, 41 is going to be halfway. It's 41, I think. 41 is just about there. Then, oops, then it's 180 and 49. 180 and 49 is there. And the last one is at 185 and 50. So this is your kind of points. Now, it's called a cumulative frequency curve. So that means you have to join these dots as best as you can with a curve. And it should really go through the points. It's really hard to do with this tablet, but now there is a little bit confusion as to kind of what you do with the graph when you reach 160, but because the first number is 2 for the cumulative frequency value, and technically the graph starts at 155, we really should just join it down to 0. Now that is your cumulative frequency curve. So what you need to do is you need to remember that cumulative means running total, so you copy the first number across and then you just keep adding the next one down. So it's a running total. Then that last number should be the total of these, and you always plot it at the end number, and that's how you draw your cumulative frequency curve. Now, okay, so first of all, just before we end the video, I'm going to talk about why we plot the values at the end number. Why do we not bother plotting it at the start or the middle? Why do we plot it at the end number? So why do we plot 160 and then 2? Why not in the middle or at the beginning? Okay, and then the reason for that is it's because of this word cumulative. It means a running total. So that group has 2 people in, but technically it's 2 people. That means there's 0 up to 2 people. So if you look at the graph, you're starting off with no one, and then you're ending up with 2 people in that group. So technically you're going from 0 people to 2 people. And then the next group has 6 people in. So, but then that's 8 people so far. But you started off with 2 people, and then suddenly you've got 6 more. So you've got 2 people now, and suddenly you've got 6 more. So you end up at 8 because you started off at the end. The last interval had 2 people in it, and then you're going up to 6 more. So now you're ending up at 8. So that's why we plotted at the end. It's because it's a running total. It's because you started off with 2 people. You start off technically you start off with no one, then you get 2 people. And then you get 6 more, so you got 8, and then you got 14, and then you get 22 people so far. So it's sort of saying that that group starts off with 8 people and then ends up with 14 more, so you end up at 22 people now. So that's why you plotted at the end. So this is kind of like how you draw a cumulative frequency curve. So just going to reiterate that all you need to know is, all you need to know is that it's a running total. So it's a running total. You copy the first number, and then you add the next one down, and you keep adding the next number down until you get to the end. And then you always plot the cumulative frequency value at the end of the group. Whatever number it is, it's the end of that group that you plotted at. In the next video, we'll talk about what these graphs are useful for. So we'll look at box plots, medians, and percentiles, and a bit of analysis. So what you want to do now is just maybe do a couple of questions from the Caboodle book to look at how to plot these graphs. You might need to get some graph paper or print it off, or use a square papers as best as you can in your book. But hopefully you kind of know how to draw a cumulative frequency curve now. Next video, we'll look at what we do with them. Thank you for watching.